Hello, heartful beings. Welcome to our latest episode. It's been a week. I feel like Jan and I, we've been flying all day. It's Valentine's Day. If you follow astrology, we're on the end of this last full moon, the snow moon here in February. And I don't really follow a lot of astrology. I have people that, I go to for that. But I will say, I don't know, Janet, for you, it's been a lot of slowing down, being forced to slow down a little bit and to go into literally what needs to go right now. I've had a couple of friends call me. They've kind of been in some sort of trauma, or like some stuff is coming up for them in the last 2 days. Different people calling me of kind of the same stuff of like, they are aware because they've been doing a lot of work themselves, like we have. They are aware of what that pattern is, but not quite sure of the process of them fully letting go. So I'm going to sit here and pull a card because we were called to do that beforehand. Um, but I know for me, I really needed to slow down a little bit and ground outside and be outside and actually take in, like not forcing me, but making me more aware of taking in everything I have created up to this point. Has been a really big thing for me just the last couple of days. Janet, for you, I'm not sure where you land
Oh,
with all
yeah.
that.
Well, it's
Yeah.
funny because you're like, it's about slowing down. The whole idea of slowing down did not even cross my mind of like a new slowdown, right? Because
Yeah.
there's been versions of it until last night. You guys know I own a little school, and the amount of kids we're getting in is just shocking to me with a variety of needs and dynamics. And I finally hit this place of, oh my gosh, I'm just one person and I have this incredible staff that supports me, but it would be lovely to be able to help more kids. But I've got to change the system. So it actually
Yes.
inspired me even more so to take what I do more publicly and to start training teachers at a grander scale as opposed to just my company.
Mhm.
So the slowdown was fascinating because the second I was like, oh, that's pressure too. I can feel the pressure. Oh, it's falling. Oh, I can feel it coming off of my back and my shoulders. And immediately I was like, oh, it's just as simple as launching my book. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you can't get there unless we do that little slow down, right? And just take a moment to
Yes.
see what it is we've actually created. So the card that just came out, I've actually gotten a couple of times for myself in the last couple of weeks, but we're upcycling, going up, up, up. We're changing things. We're changing our belief systems. We're changing what it is that we're creating in the world. We're changing how we show up in the world, everything we've been talking about for all of these weeks, right? So now we're in the process of like, kind of how you were saying, like when you were saying like it was like shaking off my back, off my body. I literally saw this shaking of like us going up, 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 up. It's never like quite so smooth. Like we're just rising from the ashes, right? It's more of
Yeah,
a we're rising from the ashes as we're kind of trying to
absolutely.
figure out the new body, the new belief systems, the new thing I need to create, the new ideas that are coming in. Like I'm getting stuff in my dreams. I'm getting stuff
Yes.
walking outside. I'm getting stuff, while I'm at the washing dishes. I'm just getting a lot of things. And so the slowing down is helping me sort through what I want to prioritize, what I need to prioritize, and where I want to create more. Right. So this
Gosh, it's so
card
true.
of just the wheel, it's, figuring out, guys, where do you want to uplift? Where do you want to change? Where do you want to point the arrow and like make change? Because I know I get overwhelmed where I want to do it in all these different areas of my life all at once.
Yeah.
But the slowdown's causing me to like target it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I love that in this picture of in this tarot card, this woman is balancing on one leg on one wheel. And usually we're running our own hamster wheel, right? We're
Yes.
navigating multiple areas of life, but that is what it looks like to have to do this. There is a balance literally in stopping to just take it all in and really discern in a stable way as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
what I had been doing this week, which you'll hear me, guys. Sometimes I regress too and go into
Yeah.
my old patterns. Another old pattern I fell into was I'm not sleeping. And then that lasted a whole day and a half or something of that's not working anymore. But one of the cool things that I love about it is that about 5 or 6 years ago, I would be going through the amount of things that I'm going through right now, and I would probably be calling it an existential crisis. But this year, I'm referring to it as an existential upgrade.
Yes. I love that so much.
Yeah. Existential upgrade. So I'm really identifying, all right, what resonates, what doesn't, what do I want, what do I not want? And so like I have such a servant's heart to be of service, but the way I'm doing it isn't aligned to
Yes.
me. And
Anymore.
so, yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm an upscale, grander human being in
Mm-hmm.
nature. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that not everyone is like that, but I started taking the sacred gifts course that I'm loving, and it's been making it easier for me to accept who I am and as I am and why I want the grandness,
Mm-hmm.
how it's natural, it's easy to me. I play off of people's energy, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even helping me accept even aspects of my husband more.
And those partners really do show
Oh,
us a lot.
yeah, it's so cute. But like understanding, sometimes I want him to perform in a wheelhouse that he does not have.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, Janet, and what I love about this course is we're learning what's a true gift versus what's a skill.
Mm-hmm.
Because your natural gifts, the places where you naturally evolve and are inclined and perform, and it's a breeze for you. You don't even have to think
Mm-hmm.
about it. It is kind of like a gift or an ability, if you want to call it either one. But the other ones can also be skills. And so what I learned is I have so many stinking skills.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many skills, and sometimes I get lost between, well, because I can do it, I just do. And there are
Mm-hmm.
some pieces that there be higher wisdom to hire out or to delegate to
100%.
someone else. And sometimes I just end up doing things because I know how.
Girl, that resonates so much because that idea, and I think we've talked about this before, but the idea of being of service and what it looked like for me in the past, because I have a certain inclination, certain skills, and a certain um, desire to understand psychologies and human minds and behaviors, and I have this information, doesn't mean I need to always share it or get in the way of people of what they're here to learn and understand. If they and then I used to even give it without them even asking, right? And so that part of me, because I the idea of service to me was like, we always have to perform in a way, we always have to show up and be of service to other people. But what I've been learning is the slow down, which my life has forced me to slow down, which has been beautiful and great. And what I'm creating now has more purpose. So instead of me getting in other people's lanes, like I used to do all the time, I'm learning now to redirect it towards self. And in doing that, I'm sharing my gifts, abilities, whatever it is, in a more purposeful, intentional way, instead of basically vomiting it all over the world and then getting mad at the world for not seeing me, not hearing me, not understanding me, not doing what I want the other ones to do, right? Because
Yeah.
I wasn't doing it. So I'm projecting out I used to project out into the world like all of this stuff and then getting upset at the world for not responding, reacting in the way that I wanted it in return, you
Oh my
know?
gosh, absolutely.
And I did
Gosh.
a lot of work to get there, guys. And I still, like you said, I was just talking to my best friend this morning and she needed some help kind of sorting through some stuff. And everything she was talking about, I was like, that's what I've been doing this week too. I've been ignoring it. I've been kind of on the hamster wheel, like we brought up. And it's okay. I don't beat myself up for doing it. But now that I have the awareness, I'm like, oh, I need to redirect. I need a little quiet time. I just need to move the viewfinder a little bit over to pay attention, right?
Gosh, it's so true. Like even recently, it's hitting home in multiple areas. Like I think I told you guys a few sessions ago or 2 sessions ago, like I had this huge breakthrough with money, and I realized same thing. I'm wanting money to show up for me and do this and be there,
Oh,
and I want
totally
my
with money.
I want money. Money, where are you? And I'm thinking, Janet, hello. This is exactly how you treat yourself, honey. This is
Yeah.
this. What do you mean? How are you meeting your needs right now? And we get to have needs. I think that's another thing. I think sometimes in some spiritual circles and dynamics, we're told, you need nothing of no one. You
Right.
have to meet all of your needs yourself. Well, I mean, tell that to a baby. Tell that to
Right.
one of the most social species that we are on this earth, right?
And like that statement could totally ring true, but what we'll tend to do is go straight into the I don't need it for anyone, and then or I need everyone for everything, right? So it's even
Yes.
finding the balance in that statement.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But, for me, I would even meet someone and they'd be really needy and I'd get hyper triggered. I have a friend. I hope she's listening to this. We've come a long way. When I first met her, I even told her, girl, I don't have time for, like, I just can't. It was such an awkward way to start a friendship like 8 years ago. I was like, you're needy. I can't do it. And we're still friends today because I evolved and she evolved and we have like a real conscious friendship. Which is beautiful, right? How awesome is that to be able to start in a weird place and then evolve together as friends?
Yeah.
But same thing, what is the balance of needs? Her being needy at all triggered me. I'm not gonna need of anyone or
Yeah.
anything. And then it taught me that it's okay to have needs, to
Yeah.
meet your needs. And
Yeah.
then the more I meet my own needs, the more the external matches that for me. It mirrors it
Right.
to me. Yeah.
Right. Right. I mean, we have this idea. I always think of a little tiny man in my heart with a projection screen just projecting out this movie, right? And that's the visual I always get.
And I just love that it's a man.
Yeah, it's just a little man living in there and he's just projecting everything, the walls, the garden, the everything, right? And it's always a reflection of our internal world, right? The substance, the movie is like where we're coming from. And so just the more work we do, we get the opportunity to change that. And that's not like crazy sci-fi stuff. It's like literally we see that like we've all evolved and we've all done changes somewhere in our life, right? Where the external has changed with us, right? Whether
Yes.
that's like confidence building in a school scenario and like you go out into the working world, whether it's when you were a kid learning soccer skills and like at first we're fumbling on the ball and like we do a little bit of work and we keep practicing and then all of a sudden we're scoring goals in games or whatever. Like we all have a moment. Like, so let's all acknowledge that in ourselves. If we've all had a moment of doing this work, of changing our interior to get it in the exterior.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah. And that's what this card's all about is like this upcycling that humanity, the planet, the world, heart-centered people, non-heart-centered people, like it doesn't even matter. We're all being forced into this upcycling. And it's kind of almost like a sink or swim scenario, I feel for some of us. It doesn't have to be sink or swim. We've talked about floating, right? Um,
Loading.
but I do feel like the energy is kind of like it's go time world, it's go time humanity, it's go time self of really going inward and seeing what I need to not keep bringing with me. What's the baggage that I
Absolutely.
keep bringing in year after year? I don't need it anymore.
Gosh, it's so true. It's almost, and it's crazy because in a way, it's almost as simple as deciding who do you want to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, what do you want and who do you want to be? There comes that topic again. Because
Yeah.
I think that there's a whole dynamic that plays in to when we're having to go into go time. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of stagnant time, there's a lot of floating time, there's a lot of avoiding time. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, by the way,
My
I'm
favorite, kind of my favorite time.
Um, but yeah, the go time really requires you deciding at every moment of every day, who do you want to be right now?
Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
exhausting for some of
yeah,
us.
it is. Or how do you want to show up? And showing up can also mean taking a break.
Yeah.
It can also mean I'm gonna Netflix and what is
Chill,
yeah,
Netflix
that's
and
what it
chill.
is.
I'm very good at that too
Yeah.
because it's absolutely necessary. Everything's cyclical, right? Everything, and again with the wheel, right? Because every wheel in this picture has its own um circle, right? It's its own individual wheel, and they could all be categories in your life. They all could be times of when it is go time, when it is the sleep, when it is the, whatever else that might be for you. So we honor all of these times. Women, we have a cycle every month, right? There's just times when our body's just exhausted and we need to rest. There's times where we have that extra, bit of energy. And then there's times that we're healing, right? And so I think
Yeah.
honoring that with the moon was really big for me this week. I actually had a moment leaving your house the other night. I'm leaving your house. And all of a sudden, I got hit with like an intense energy. I love that I'm remembering this. And I just was like grabbing my steering wheel and I was like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of fighting the good fight. I'm so tired of knowing more about myself. I'm so tired of like doing this work. I'm just tired and I just want to stop. I give up. So I'm leaving your house. I'm going down this road. I'm the only car on the road. It's super dark because there's no lights. And the full moon is literally lighting my whole path. Okay. And it's beautiful. And I get overwhelmed with tears like, okay, I guess I'm okay. I guess I know I'm supported. And then out of nowhere, this rabbit in the middle of the night, I mean, it wasn't the middle of the night, it was like 7:38, runs across my car. And I didn't hit it, guys. But I was like, what is a rabbit doing out at this hour? And so I look up what rabbit means, and rabbit means fertility, abundance, new beginnings. And all of these messages when it comes to whenever an animal comes to me, not in the normal way, I definitely feel like it's a sign, guys. So I'm all about synchronicities and signs. And so this rabbit came out as kind of assuring me I'm okay. There. We have a new beginning where I know I've been having this feeling that me and my family were like coming out of something big. So whether or not you feel that, guys, if you don't feel that, it's okay. We all have it at different times. But that's what this card is, really about for me too. And it had a lot to do with the moon and cycles. Okay. So I really wanted to bring in that idea. I forgot about the rabbit girl.
God, I love that you're saying that. Same thing. The animals are a big thing. Um,
Huge.
I don't even know how many times I've seen a red-tailed hawk
Yeah.
just this week. And it's just
I saw three like the same week, like a couple weeks ago. I'm so glad you're bringing that up.
it's so wild. There's also a hybrid squirrel that lives by your house. I'm sure you've
Oh
seen
yeah.
it.
Yeah. He's like
Thank
half
you.
black, half brown, and he's cut perfectly down the middle. Guys, it's
And I completely relate to him because sometimes I'm like a classy lady. And then other times, like this morning, I was listening to Dr. Dre and Snoop in the car ride home
I've
from
been all about
school.
Kendrick Lamar lately. Just can't stop. Um,
But
but yeah,
both things true.
yeah, it's all true. It's all what we need in that moment, right? And so when we're talking about spirit and these animals coming to visit us as messengers, it's all part of it. It's all part of literally the projection, you know, uh,
Yeah.
it, and when I'm in those moments of like, that's it, I've had enough. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And then I get that validation. I just know I'm so blessed. I know just to wake up and do it again another day.
Gosh, honey, I'm just getting so much from just your voice right now. I can feel it in my sternum. It's interesting.
Yeah,
Um, I need to go back to the hawk. Obviously
do
didn't
it.
process it completely. So
Mm-hmm.
something that the hawk has in common with another aspect of my life, I keep getting clients that have eye problems, either being a lazy eye or an eye that doesn't focus and follow as well, depth perception, and a lot of kids that are like nearsighted.
Mm-hmm.
I was I've been nearsighted since I was a kid, and it has been about not having vision. And so what's fascinating is that I actually got LASIK surgery done right before I would buy this company years ago that would help me see clearly. And then lately I've been having some eye stuff come up again. So seeing the red-tailed hawk is such a big thing because it's like the animal that symbolizes vision and perspective and it can see great distances. And a
Yeah,
lot
they're
of
always floating up top, surveilling, looking.
Yeah. And they represent such power, bravery, and strength. And it's just meaning so much more to me the more we're talking about these dynamics. And I'm looking to make a big jump of leap of faith type of jump. I was telling my person who's teaching me about sacred gifts, I told her, listen, I'm really good at making leaps of faith, but I fight like hell before. I feel
Me
like I'm
too.
more forced into the corner to make the jump as opposed to
I
okay,
know.
I'm doing it.
I know. And that's like I do that to myself constantly. I just do it to myself constantly. I will fight it. I will fight it. I want it. I want the change. I want to do that thing, right? But I will fight it all the way. And then I get usually injured or I get smacked in the head or something to get me to like, get back in line, right?
Yeah, wake up.
Um, I just remembered another time, this was probably 2 months ago. I'm taking out the trash outside and I'm walking around the side of my house and I stop because there's this huge hawk chilling right on my fence, right underneath the garbage can. And I'm like looking at him. I'm like, oh my God, this is beautiful. For me in that moment, I love that you're bringing up the perspective. I was all up in my head, guys. I was like, being alone with kids and you're alone with your thoughts a lot, right? You can go down these spirals and these hamster wheel conversations in your head over and over again. And the hawk was reminding me to get out, zoom out, like back it up, look up high, right? And it was so impactful for me. So whenever you guys do see an animal, there's Google, right? Google will give you spirit meaning of whatever animal, but also you just think of it logically. What does this animal do, represent? How does it function in the animal kingdom? What have I been thinking, doing, behaving like when this animal has come to me, right? All of that is information for you to use.
Gosh, it's so true.
Yeah, I love it.
So true. Like for me, the coyote comes forward when I'm not being true to myself and
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost lying to myself. I even had my mentor that
Oh
stuck with me
yeah.
a long time ago of like, forgot what it was, but she told me one day, when are you going to stop pretending? This was years ago. And I got mad. I was like, what do you mean, broad? Who's pretending? Got real defensive. I was so mad. And then for like the next year and a half, I had coyotes hanging around all the time. They were off of the terrace off of my apartment. They were on the path when I was walking. They were around all the time. And I think they're known for being pranksters and
Yes.
jokesters.
Yeah.
And I was just giggling because I'm realizing, oh yeah, I was playing a lot of pranks on myself at that
Yeah.
time. I was
Uh-huh.
I was just joking.
I know. It's so interesting. I remember one time we were at our old house in New Orleans, and my daughter, who was like 2 at the time, was like, Mommy, come look at this big bird outside. And it was another hawk just chilling right outside my window. I'm realizing birds and hawks has been really big in my life. And then when our baby was born, that vulture that came to the window, guys, and the nurses that were trying to do my paperwork so I could leave and go home, this vulture was just hanging out, bobbing around, looking in the window. I was like, what is going on with this vulture? And sure enough, it was about rebirth and death and transforming and creating and being like a phoenix. And my whole experience at the hospital with my second was kind of traumatic. And like I was going through this huge transformation. So the bird showed up to like validate and remind me that I was a spirit being in that moment and I can do a lot of healing myself. Right. Um, so I love that this episode's kind of turned into animals because we don't talk about them ever.
No,
But they're
but
everywhere.
I feel like they're significant as it relates to the wheel, as it relates to taking the pause. Like we don't have
Hmm.
to work so hard to do the work.
Yes. I'm
It
so glad you said that.
Yeah, it comes to you. The signs come to you. The messages come to you. I can tell you that, like, I'm going to joke about my bank account again, but I can tell you that the universe was using my bank account plenty of times to show me where I was. I even got the flu, like, I had the flu for like a day and a half or 2 weeks. And I sat down and I was like, well, I guess we're going to rest and I'm going to work on this. I had fever. And I was releasing anger and recognizing, oh, wait, I'm just a little mad at myself right now. Okay. The second I did
Hmm.
that, everything calmed, all the symptoms calmed. Healing in many aspects comes to you. There's
Yeah.
been moments where I'm tired. I'm like, all right, God, I'm tired and I can see these patterns happening in my life. I don't have it in me right now to go deep dive and dig. I'll suddenly watch a movie, and the movie is the exact message that I needed to
Yeah.
resolve something emotionally for me without having to go dig and seek.
Girl, music for me. I like will be brought to tears sometimes of listening to music, and lyrics are exactly, I'm sure a lot of y'all have had that experience, are exactly what you needed to hear in that moment. You're
Yeah.
reminding me, I've had my left knee has been an issue for the last week or so. And a couple of days ago was so bad that just walking around in my house was causing me pain. And I was like, okay, I've been ignoring you. You've gotten worse. Let me feel into this and figure it out. And I know, guys, it's really hard to sometimes do the work for yourself, right? So I have a book, Metaphysical Anatomy book, Vet Rose. I love it. I was like, you know what? I'm trying to feel into my knee. I'm not really feeling or getting the information, but I was called to go look up the book and look up knee problems and what the metaphysical reasons are behind that type of pain, and I'm reading it. And again, when you listen to us or when you're reading a book, you just take what resonates, leave the rest. Don't even
Mm-hmm.
worry about the rest. So I'm reading through it. I'm like, and then I read this one sentence about responsibility for others in your home of how they're feeling, doing, or something like that. And that's exactly the place I had been in. And guys, when I put the book up and put it back on my bookshelf and I took a step, I was like, oh, the knee pain just went from like a 9 to a 2. It was a miracle right then and there because it hurt me walking to the bookshelf. And I was like, wow, okay, message received. Thank you. And then I started thinking of how that last week I had just all of a sudden gotten to everybody's lane in my house. And I was ignoring myself and I avoided the pain to the point that I couldn't even take a step in my own home without feeling it. So that's where the avoidance was coming to hit me in the face, basically, or knock me out at the knee. So I took some time. The full moon was here, needed to slow down. Another reason for the knee pain was important slowing down, um, and just understand where I had been, what's the word I want to use, just throwing my energy in places that didn't even need to go, right? It was
Yeah.
like I was going throwing it out there, I was throwing it out there and throwing it over here. So I recalled it all, brought it back, got myself moved the viewfinder back over to me and started addressing my needs. I still have a little tenderness in it because I know there's some more things to go deeper. I don't know, are you getting anything about the knee?
Well, I mean, I can tell you I relate to the knee.
Yeah.
I know when I became a single mom, that's my knee. It's interesting. I'm so glad we're talking about this because it was even before I became a single mom. Um, the knee had started to kind of flash. But yeah, I mean, the components of how do I stand in this type of responsibility and leadership for my loved ones? And I think that my knee really started to heal more permanently.
Mm-hmm.
I say permanently because there's been moments of a flash, but I'll address it right away.
Mm-hmm.
More permanently when I said, you know what? I just have to be me. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
even in that, I was like, it's not that I have to be so responsible or I have to
Mm-hmm.
constantly be on the lookout or hyper vigilant or anticipate or predict or schedule or plan. What ended
Mm-hmm.
up happening is the more I just started to authentically say, responsibility really is the ability to respond. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to live with the weight of it as a mom. It'll just come to me or get planned or get ironed out, or, you know, the baby's going to bring me their bowl
Mm-hmm.
when they're hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I never have to worry. My kids will never go hungry. They know when to ask, how to find the food themselves. But that really relates to the knee problems that are historically in my family now that it's coming up.
See, now it's more ancestral. Yeah.
It's ancestral, how I was behaving that week of why I got amped up again, because this is the same knee that, about every decade it'll flare up again. And now I'm thinking in my head of all the times that it was so bad, of the amount of pressure I had to get ahead of things, schedule things, organize things, have everything at my cockpit, essentially, all operating is what I'm feeling. And how that's just another form of trying to be in control of everything,
Oh,
as opposed
yeah.
to just being in the moment and trusting that I'm handling everything fine.
Absolutely. And even if we're not, it's enough, right?
Right.
Because the universe, I think the universe knows just how much is on my plate right now. Like, God knows, source knows. And I've been working to not view it as a lot on my plate. I've been working to just view it as this is where we're going. And this is what I've chosen,
Yeah.
and this is where we're going.
Yeah.
And in doing that, I've been having parents or clients or individuals text me like, hey, following up on XYZ. And what I've been
They're
doing,
doing it for you.
they're doing it for me. So I'm like, wait, I was like, wait, you're telling me I don't have to remember everything?
Hell
And
yeah.
so what I do is every time they following up, reminder, it might be their second time coming to me. But if it is, I'm not even living in the old judgment I would have lived in. I just been like, yep, that's what we're doing. I'm gonna do it right now. Yep. And so now I'm just using it as like the universe is my own personal secretary while
Oh my
my
God, I
while
love it.
my actual admin is out of town in India. And and it's been working out and I haven't missed anything. But when I was sitting there in the stress of I have to juggle this, I have to do this, it's on me. And what if I forget this meeting? And oh my God, I really was missing meetings.
Oh my God, the second you shifted into that energy, my shoulders hurt. I was like, oh, wait, I just felt the tightness because I lived like that for so long, especially when my old career, when I was managing 5 restaurants, it was a lot to maintain at certain times of the year when you're the busiest, right? Um, and there was times in the year where, everybody was just chill doing their thing, wasn't a big deal. But when it was like Mardi Gras or it was Christmas time or it was, something going on, it was a lot coming at me. And yeah, I'd get stressed making sure everything was in its proper place and everything was functioning properly because it was my job. And now I'm realizing if I would have gone into it with a little bit more ease, um, everything would have been fine regardless. But that kind of goes into play of what we talked about before about the pressure that we put ourselves in to control and to perfect, right? What's another thing of like control, perfect, things that really don't work for us long term, you know,
No,
at all.
no, they really don't. It's kind of wild how that works because I think I told y'all in a couple episodes ago, I rolled into fetal position in my bed and told my husband, I'm tired. I'm the one that creates all of this freaking pressure. It's me. And then, and then like the next day, I had rashes on my body that were healed. My hair stopped falling out. So,
Mhm.
crazily, like it was a huge shift for me to say, I get it. I see what I'm doing.
Yes.
And that was enough for me to not do it the next day. And this week I've done better with it. But it's a practice, guys. We've talked about this. It's a
Yeah.
practice. Hmm.
And I'm glad you said you felt into it and you expressed it, because I've been talking to people lately where they see it, they know it, but then they go immediately into trying to fix it.
Hmm.
And we miss that other component of to feel it, express it, and to get it out in order to I mean, it's literally energy trapped in the body, right? So even
Yeah.
by speaking it, by feeling it, by yelling, by hitting in the pillow, any movement, dance party, I'm a huge fan of the dance party, right? And just kind of shake it out and get it all out and get weird with it, helps to move it out of us. And that's something that I came into practice, which I have not been doing enough of. So I'm glad we're talking about this.
It's amazing.
Yeah, just to get it out, of us. And then I'm going to go into then what comes next. I was such
Yes,
a fix it.
please.
And then I'm putting band-aids on everything. And the dam is about to bust. And I'm putting a, you know, cork in the hole, but it's not relieving any of the pressure.
Yep, I know this feeling. I know it so well.
Still working on it, guys. I mean, still working on it all the time, but
Oh,
it is getting a little easier at times because I have this knowledge now of what works for me, right?
yeah.
Um, and when I see myself cycling out and we get the bird, right? Or we get the body paid, or we get the friend, or the song comes on the radio, or the friend calls you out of the blue just to tell you something really profound. Use all of it, y'all. Like,
Oh,
use
yeah.
all of it. Because I was missing out on so much information for the first like half of my life, I want to say now, you know?
Yeah. I even had a client the other day and they came in, they're like, oh my gosh, listen to what my friend's going through. So what we're getting at with the friends is you can even use your friends to do your own healing. But
Yes.
let's be honest, the old traditional ways, I say old because I don't do it like I used to. I'm sure I still do it some, who knows? Is we would get in the friends lane and be like, oh, she's not getting it, or he's not seeing this, or to me, it's clear as day. Well, it's now about now I function like, how is my friend a match to me? How is their predicament also my predicament, but perhaps in a different area of life?
Mm-hmm.
So this
Mm-hmm.
client of mine was complaining about her friend, not complaining, but kind of how would I say it? Like, yeah, she's totally seeing how men are the problem and how this is this, and and women just losing all of their power left and right. And I told her, okay, I'm just gonna pause you right there. I want you to say all of those things again. And instead of your friend's name, I'm gonna suggest you put your name in. And then it was like, oh, that is exactly what I think. So that is how we function. We can only see in another that which we see in ourselves.
That, yeah, it's funny you say that. I was talking to a friend this week and it was the exact same thing. Just everything they're saying on the exterior, change it with the language of yourself. And it's so profound,
Yeah.
right? And if we start coming from that place with a little person, little man, little woman, whatever it is inside of you projecting out, y'all, you can't help but see it everywhere.
Oh,
Everyone's
it's
just
so true.
projecting and vomiting energetically on everyone everywhere, right? Um, and I've had to clean up my social media a little bit as of lately because though I see it, it's a lot to take in, right? So this is also a time where get the information, but take the slow down time right now because everything is a little amped up out there, right? And do the self-discovery work, do the inner work, do it quietly with self, right? Because we're getting almost bombarded at this point with information. Like people are triggering me sometimes left and right all in 1 hour, right? But when I take the slow down, I come back to self and I was like, okay, well, what was about that was really triggering? What is it showing about my belief system here? And I start going inward, you get so much more in depth with it. And
Gosh, yeah.
then I'm not going to bed super like the world, like, or oh, that person, because
Well,
I have to let it go.
yes. I mean, sometimes I have. Let's
I mean,
be,
I've
I
been
think,
grinding my jaw a lot at night, so I'm getting there because I think I'm still holding some of it in. But
I think like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was so mad at my husband. And all I wanted to do was get it out before bedtime. But we have this toxic pattern that we're going to break up with, that I'm the workaholic. And then we're getting in bed at 1 or 2 in the morning. And I'm like, I want to talk.
oh, girl, I would be like, you out of my bed right now. There's no way. You've had the whole day.
I need to get this out now. And you
Oh,
know
that's
what?
funny.
I'm working on not doing that as much going forward.
Oh, that's amazing.
But yeah, I've had a couple people tell me in my life, you're hard being in a relationship with. Because it's not smooth sailing, but I also love having conscious dynamics and conscious
Yeah.
efforts and relationships with people, because that really does build us working towards a common goal of growth and expansion. Or
Hmm.
my new favorite is like the evolution and the involution. Um,
I like
right.
that.
So that we're purifying the relationship, just like we're purifying our souls, or we're purifying our perspectives so that they're not polarized. Yeah.
And then it's this
Yeah.
upcycling
Mhm.
because we're not meant to be stagnant. When we're stagnant, we get into a lot of pain, period.
Yeah.
Like we stay at the job longer than we need to stay, we get into pain. We stay in the relationship longer than we need it to go, we get into pain. So a lot of stuff is moving for us. And what's beautiful is that a lot of the upcycling I'm seeing happening with friends and family and myself is there's big leaps of faith and big jumps, but it's this inner work right now that's so profound. And by doing the inner work, literally everything changes. So instead of having this fear of like, oh God, I know I'm gonna have to leave this job eventually, and like, it's what's gonna happen, and the fear sets in, how am I gonna pay my bills, blah, blah, blah. Instead of going there immediately, go inward, look at the job. What is
Yeah.
triggering you? What is uncomfortable about you? What is it you want to create next? Do that work before you take your leap of faith. I've taken some
Yes.
leaps of faith lately, y'all. Done really not that much inner work about the situation. And yeah, it's really hard. I didn't
Yeah,
set
because
my
it
foundation.
it
Yeah,
doesn't make it easy because you're still in the resistant fight, right?
I
Like
didn't
you're
have a
not.
foundation at all.
Yes, it's so, yeah, girl, believe me, I think I hired a marketing coach one time that way. And I was like, all right, here we go. And then I could barely implement a single thing that I paid a lot of money for
Yeah.
to implement, because there were parts of me that weren't on board and that weren't completely resolved internally, of my storylines of why I could or could not do that. But at the same time, that was a couple years ago. At the same exact time, like 3 weeks ago, I said, all right, that's it. It doesn't matter. I'm committing to my new speaking journey and my new journey as an author. God, I don't even know what this looks like, but bring forward all the stuff that needs to be released,
Hmm.
so all of a sudden, like it was like a lightning bolt of jolt of like, where is it in my relationships? Every relationship,
Hmm.
money, mentality, friends, husband,
Yeah.
kids, that I'm still living this way. And I finally had my aha moment. And within 36 hours, I got 3 invitations to speak in Miami, in Paris, and in Las Vegas. I'll be speaking in Las Vegas this coming this coming
Amazing.
week. Yeah. So
Yay.
it's right. Yeah, I'm excited. It's called the Heart Centered Summit. If you guys want to look it up, it's going on February 18th and 19th, Monday, Tuesday. It sounds fun. If any of you guys want to join, come and message me,
Yeah.
DM me. But I think the reason I got there is I did have some lingering pieces to address. Like you just said, you have to do your inner work, and
Yeah.
the external it just lines up to what
Yeah.
you decided. But the inner work's what keeps you in your self-imposed cage or prison.
100%. I remember signing up for a business coach because for me at the time, it was the next logical step to do. And we know we've all done it like, okay, I'll do that. That's the next logical step. But it wasn't what I needed to be doing with my business at the time. I was actually like, me and you were in such different life stages right now. I'm being called to stay home more, to be with my family, to raise these littles, and I kept ignoring that and avoiding that. I kept pushing through. If I do this, I'll do this, I'll be successful, because I'd come from decades of building success, but I was transitioning to doing something completely different in a different successful measure, right? And so I did this coach. I didn't implement one thing. I never got anything off the ground. I was like, well, that was fun. Because I literally wasn't in a place to even do it, but I didn't know how to let that version of myself go and really step into what I was being asked, which is okay, right? Because it took me a couple years to get to where I'm at now with that. But it all serves a purpose
Oh
too.
yeah, because even so, how beautiful that you got to go through it, because now you'll
Yeah.
be able to read it
Yes.
and know what it looks like to transition out of it, to be of service to another as well, and to yourself first and
Yes.
foremost, right?
Yeah. And I still got some stuff out of the class. I still now know the feeling of what it's like when I'm still pushing through. I still know the feeling of what it's like when I'm nothing, the thing isn't in alignment, but I'm still trying to make it work. Right.
Yeah,
So I've
I know that
learned
feeling.
all of those things. I can now be like, I know what that feels like. I know what that is.
Yeah. It's really, I think it's such a gift in a way, but it doesn't feel like a gift while you're in it, right? Like while you're in
Hell
it, it
no.
feels,
Hell no.
yeah. When you're in it, you're like, I didn't agree to this, which is not true, but we want that to be the truth.
My best friend was like, did I really sign up to have all of this experience and to like go through all of this? I was like, she's like, I know I did. Don't, like basically don't answer, but I'm mad as hell because it's hard. And I was like, I know. It's just, and by her reaching out to me to get some insight, we all have to reach out to somebody to help us sort
Yeah.
through what's being shown to us because the universe
Yes.
is relentless. It's
Yes.
the way it functions. And so if you're feeling like you're drowning, because I know that feeling too, because you're getting bombarded, 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 and you can't sort it through, find somebody, find a coach. We have the Heartful Hour that we do once a month that we help sort through those kind of things. Find a coach, find a therapist, whatever it is, because we all need help in sorting it out when it's our own shit. Like it's really
Absolutely.
hard
Guys,
seeing through it.
we even call each other.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Like I'll call Melina and be like, I'm in the shitter. Can you please help me transition out of here? There's stuff I can't see. I can't see it
I
because I
mean,
have my blinders on.
you were my phone a friend for like a year because I was just like every day I was like, oh my God, I just got hit again. I don't understand. I can't see out. I can't see, you know, any of it. I couldn't see any of it. It didn't
Yeah.
matter how much I knew how things function or the psychology of stuff. Like when you're in it,
Yeah, you're in it.
you're in it. And so, we've talked about the way the universe communicates with animals, with songs, with experiences. We got to just learn how to use all of it to sort through it all.
Oh, it's so true. And
Mm-hmm.
then at the same time, I'm making noise. At the same time, when you're in it, like there's a tendency for us to constantly remember those components that were uncomfortable, that were uneasy, or where I just said to you, like I'm so deep in it, I can't see anymore. Just like that's true, so is its counter opposite.
Yeah, I love that you bring that point in. Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we give this so much power while we're tanking in the spiral's direction, that we give it so much power that we forget its opposite was also true maybe on Wednesday,
Yeah.
right? Today is Friday and it doesn't feel like it did on Wednesday. And we get so polarized that it actually makes our journey out of the spiral harder because we start to just identify with the spiral. We give the energy to the spiral. So we then must spiral even more. But when you can look at things more neutrally, it creates something called equanimity,
Mm-hmm.
right? A balance of zero, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Of there is good and there is bad, there is right and there is wrong, there is bliss and there is pain, and all are true here. And I would even say this applies to the ancestors too. I've been having this realization lately. I've been cooking a lot. Like I feel like we sometimes come in as the healer or as evolved beings, and we're like, oh, I have all of this work to do around the ancestors. And I also want to be like, listen, honey, you also have all of these incredible abilities and genetics
Yeah.
and things to celebrate that the ancestors passed down to you. Melena makes this
Yeah.
tomato onion situation that is so bomb that I'm like, oh my God, I just want to drink that. How?
I do drink it. It's so good.
So, there are things that are passed, there's good and bad
Yeah.
passed down and on. So celebrate the good. And when you're
Yeah.
in the bad, it is a way for you to navigate to get back to your good as well.
That practice of looking at things neutrally. I was also talking about somebody today, an exercise you've had me do, several times. I do it with my clients is, focusing on the negative or getting into the story of what didn't work out for us is natural. We want to go there
Yes,
first, right? The
absolutely.
victimization, like, look what happened to me. And when we write it all down and then we look at of what it actually taught us, what it showed us, what good came out of that scenario, that part of the story, because everything has its duality. Even in the most darkest of places, there is something light to be shown, right? And when you had me first do those exercises, it really helped me shift my perspective. I'm not changing the story. I'm not like saying that anything that bad happened to me is okay and good, right? But it gave me strength in another area that I was refusing to even acknowledge or see. And so for many years and most of my life, I struggled with seeing even joy. I struggled with seeing love and happiness as a possibility that can also be my existence for so much more of my day if I so chose, right? And so now that I'm playing with the whole day and the signs and everything that's happening, I'm able to get into a more neutral place, because old me would have been like, oh man, you were really like depressed yesterday. You didn't do anything. You had your to-do list. You didn't mark one thing off of it and beat myself up. But like you're saying, like we could have been great on a Monday or Tuesday and we're not so great by Wednesday, Thursday. And that's okay. That to me was a really big freeing moment.
Yeah, it's
That,
wild. For me
yeah,
too, honey. Like
yeah,
my first mega healing, my first mega miracle was based off of reaching that. Like
yeah,
I was trying to live in this identity that my childhood was wonderful. And it was, there were things that I didn't want to look at. And it took someone else telling me, actually, all of these things also happened in your childhood.
yes, yeah,
And then that hit neutral. And I was like, whoa. And I was able to heal from many things as a result.
yeah,
So equanimity
yeah,
is what really can set you freer in the body and in your life.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
my oh
Well, I was going to say one more thing. I
yeah, go ahead.
know there's so many things coming through. I might have to write after this. Because even like the viewpoints I've had of my grandmother and like other people that have passed away, we do this too when people have passed away, we'll hold them up to the standard. Like, and we look at all the great things they did, right? It's kind of interesting, right? In this life, we'll look at the negative a lot. Um, or I have a tendency to do that. And when they pass, we look at all the wonderful things that they did, but now I'm realizing now that I've been a stay-at-home mom for a couple of years, and it is challenging. It's literally the hardest job I've ever had, right? Alone with your thoughts a lot of the day. You don't talk to a lot of adults sometimes.
Yeah.
I also now see the moments that my grandmother actually probably had some depression going on
Yeah.
that I just didn't know at the time, but now I can see some of that because I've been experiencing some of those waves too. So getting to a neutral place is really freeing and healing in that everyone has good and bad days. And it sounds such a generic statement, right?
Oh,
But it's
yeah.
really profound when we
It is.
actually can like feel into that is like, okay,
It really is.
yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you. I needed to get that last little bit out because I was like,
Good.
wow, that was
I'm
actually
glad.
pretty profound. So now we could wrap it up.
Well, bunnies, that was it. We see you. We love you. You know, consider what does it look like to look at multiple sides of a coin, not just the ups and downs. There's so much in between.
Mm-hmm.
And so many ridges and aspects of it, right? That's really
Yeah.
quite beautiful. And it's those ridges that give the depth and the perception.
Yeah.
So anyway, we
I want
will
to tie in
be,
this last bit
oh,
real
do
quick though,
it.
too, because we really started about where in your area of your life are we upcycling and how do we use everything that's coming towards us as information and then getting back into that neutral state to make this lift. So I love how we started with this component and then that
Yeah.
neutrality piece that we just finished talking about all is
Yes.
about making change.
And she has light and dark coming off of her hands
Yes,
in
she
this
does.
card.
Oh yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She has light and dark. It's a huge component of being here.
Yeah, so good.
All right, my friends, I love you. I'm off to a Valentine's Day party.
Yes, it's Valentine's Day. Happy love day to everybody.
Yeah, happy love day. Bye bye.
Bye.